I want to show you some of what Joe Biden said today, and it's a key line about this election and democracy being at stake. Have a look.
The vote of each of us cast this year will determine whether democracy and freedom will prevail. It's that simple. It's that serious. And the power is literally in your hands. History is in your hands. Not hyperbole. It's in your hands.
It's an extraordinary line. It's extraordinarily divisive to say the whole of democracy hinges on you voting for us. Is it going to work for the Democrats?
I don't think so. I think that Congress and the judiciary still exist. They're there as checks on the executive branch of the US government. The impeachment power exists. I mean, look, ultimately, Chris, elections are the real check on abusive presidents. So democracy will still remain even if Donald Trump is president of the United States, as we found out the first time he was president.
Now, most of this week in Chicago is going to be about building up Kamala Harris, about lauding her, and she spoke today. But I want to show you a bit of an ad where the Republicans are lining her up on her record, particularly in allowing so many illegal immigrants into the country across the southern border, and particularly criminals. Here's some of it.
All savagely murdered by those Biden and Harris led into our country unlawfully.
We have a secure border.
Kamala Harris was and is a complete failure at her job. Now she's asking us for a promotion? Who in their right mind would give it to her?
Yeah, there's no doubt she's sailing high in the polls at the moment, a big honeymoon effect. Do you think her record is going to hurt her?
Well, yeah, and she's part of the Biden administration, which has governed to the left. It's probably been, we've witnessed the most expansive reach of government since Lyndon Johnson's Great Society in the 1960s. And, the main big policies that demonstrate the point about moving to the left are border security, but also the massive increase in post-COVID spending, which led to the worst inflation crisis in the United States in more than 40 years. So she'll have to own all of that. Look, she's getting a bit of a bounce as a result of her replacing Joe Biden. She's energized the base of the party. There's clearly a lot of enthusiasm among a lot of the fundraisers. And she's now leading in not just the nationwide polls, but in the battleground polls. But this is an exceedingly close race in a very divided country. Trump's made his fair share of mistakes in the last month. But I think that it's way too early to call an election. We still have 80 days to go. And although she's got some momentum coming out of this convention and leading up to this convention and probably coming out of the convention, this race still has a long way to play.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people getting very excited about it at the moment, but she was always going to get a lift. It's a matter of how long that lasts. Now, one of the things she's been doing, I think, successfully, well, she hasn't been doing any interviews, but so there's no scrutiny really. Beg your pardon?
Or press conferences.
Yeah, no interviews or press conferences, so there's no scrutiny. But she hasn't been talking so much about Donald Trump. She's been talking about herself. But Hillary Clinton got to the stage today in Chicago, and Hillary was straight on to Donald Trump again. Have a look.
The first person to run for president with 34 felony convictions.
Yeah, there you go. The criminal Trump, and lock him up, lock him up. There's a bit of personal revenge there from Hillary Clinton. But do you think we're going to see a lot of that in the campaign, or are they going to try and be very positive around Kamala?
Well, I mean, the catchword for the Kamala Harris campaign is the future. They want to move on from Biden and make this a generational clash. I mean, she is in her late 50s, whereas Donald Trump's in his late 70s. There's a 20-year age gap, so that presumably works to the Democrats' advantage. But ultimately, this election will be determined by policy and whether either candidate can win over those crucial independents and undecided voters in those 7 battleground states that we all too often hear about. And at this stage, it's just too close to call, and I think it'll be a very close race during the course of the next 80 days. But it'll ultimately come down to policy. And frankly, both sides, both the Republicans and Democrats, both support a huge increase in the size and the scope of the government, which doesn't augur well, in my judgment, for the future of the United States, whoever wins in a few months' time.
Yeah, indeed, and we'll hear more promises rolled out in the coming weeks, no doubt. Thanks for joining us, Tom. I appreciate it.